Humans Don't Make Good Familiars, Book 3, Chapter 12, Jake's Point of View.
Jake, are you injured?
Suma shouted once I'd reappeared beside her. I was back in the village. Around M were several members of the squad, but not everyone. I saw Nine, Rue, and Lieutenant Datahu. Behind them were other Niema of various sizes, none of which I recognized. Some were wounded, others were dead. The bluish-green blood shimmered in the contrast to the dark blue feathers. Dust and dirt hung thickly in the air, mixed with a smell like burnt hair and wood smoke. "I'm fine. Where are the others?" I asked, the dizziness leaving me as I stood.
They are helping hold back the enemy while we evacuate the civilians,
she said. Another Niema landed beside us heavily, clearly in a rush.
Lady Suma, Sir Vaiki, the enemy are pushing past the defences. We must leave now.
Where are we evacuating them to? I asked, summoning my armour, Jericho, and shield Igus. More now out of the village. Getting them to the forest will make tracking them more difficult. Everyone here knows to go to one of the other strongholds, or how to hide, Nine said. They should leave the island. We all flew here. They can fly away, back to the mainland, I suggested.
This is our home. We will not leave it. Not yet,
one of the injured Roshias said. But you could be safe, I said. An explosion outside vibrated the ground.
They are getting closer. We do not have time for this. Everyone, prepare to leave. If you can fly, help those who cannot,
the lieutenant said. The room turned to chaos as Niema either flew away or started casting spells to lift others up with magic.
Sentinel, you are coming with me. Follow close.
But Suma.
Your master will be fine. She is assisting evacuations. We are going to fight. You heard the messenger. They broke through the line, so we must form a new one to buy time.
Yes, ma'am, I said, summoning Mori and following Lieutenant Datahu outside. The smoke was thicker outside than the hole we were in. A lot of something, or several somethings, was on fire nearby. From the front, strange and loud sounds echoed. Thunder, cracking, screaming. All of it mixed, slurred, and mushed together to form a singular magnanimous noise, like how the waterfall is made up thousands of drops of water hitting themselves.
Be ready to cast defensive magic and wide attack range spells. Remember all that training I put you through.
Datu said, and created 20 dummies from the ground, wrapping them in vines, tree limbs, and roots. After she finished that, she looked up and locked eyes with me.
Sentinel, give me your mana.
How much? I asked, leaning down and placing a hand on her.
I will tell you when to stop.
I began pushing my mana into her. At first, she seemed fine, but after a few moments, she began to wince, and I slowed down.
No, keep going.
Returning to my original speed, she winced again. You're in pain.
It is necessary.
What felt like minutes later, but probably wasn't, she told me to stop. Despite gasping several times, she claimed she felt amazing. What now? I asked, putting my shield between myself and the direction of the noise.
Now we wait.
Truthfully, less than 2 minutes probably passed. But when your heartbeat is shaking your eardrums, when your knuckles are turning snow white because you're gripping your sword too hard, and when your breathing is so heavy you could pass out at any second, 2 minutes doesn't feel like 2 minutes. And I spent those stretched out minutes thinking, is Suma alive? Did she escape? Will I ever see Mum again? I wondered. About that time, an explosion occurred, not one of fire or lightning, but of flesh, specifically of feathers and beaks and claws. Horrified, I watched as Niema poured out of a nearby forest like a living tidal wave. They flew up and down and twisting around each other. It looked like a blue splotchy cloud, and sounded like flapping thunder. Lights and sounds came from the living cloud, and it quickly drew closer. Bolts of lightning and balls of fire spewed out. That cloud was at war with itself. The burnt, broken, and mangled remains of Niema were ejected from the cloud like rain in every direction, but they always hit the ground in the end. If there was enough left of them to make it that far anyway.
By the dragons,
Datu whispered. What do we do? I asked.
Let's get closer and avoid friendly fire as much as possible. Our only job is to buy time, remember? Enough for the evacuation to finish.
How can I tell who's friendly?
If they are trying to kill you, kill them instead.
Is that supposed to be a joke? I yelled, frightened.
Not at the moment, no.
A few dozen Niema pulled out of the cloud and flew straight for us.
Defensive spells, now!
Datu said, and 2 of the dummies she made placed themselves in front of her. I cast a spell I'd come up with during training. Using magnetism, I created a bubble of north polarity around myself, strong enough to stop something, almost anything, at the atomic level. Just a half second later, 3 bolts of lightning and a ball of fire tore them apart. She bolted up into the sky in a blur. As for myself, nothing hit me, not for lack of trying, however. One of the Niema had attacked me with lightning, which was what I was hoping for. The lightning was caught in the magnetic field and danced around me like tree branches made of light before popping into the ground with a crackle. Outside of the magnetic field, I created fireballs, as many as I could. I'd killed before. In the alleyway, I killed a familiar, and in the desert, Danger made me kill those mages. But this time, when fireballs launched at my whim, when they connected with 3 of those Niema, I, Jake, Sentinel, chose to kill them. Their blood was on my hands, knowingly and intentionally. There was no running from it any more. I repeated that, throwing fireballs over and over, until they were too close to throw fire at. Then I swung Maury. What happened next was a blur. Later, I would remember every disgusting moment, but at the time, it was just a blur of blood and fire and screaming. The next clear memory I have is stabbing Maury into a Niema I'd hit with my shield after I ran out of magic and my defensive barrier faded away. One solid blow with Igus's edge probably killed him, but in that blur I stabbed him, stepping back from the broken, burned and gutted bodies and from the shattered remains of almost all of Datu's dummies. I looked around, dazed. My ears were ringing so much I barely even heard Lieutenant Datu fly down and land beside me.
Are you all right, Sentinel?
She asked. I didn't answer. How was I supposed to? I could barely even breathe or think.
Sentinel, are you all right?
She asked more firmly. I lived.
You are covered in blood. Are you injured?
She asked, looking down. I saw the blood. I was covered in it. Maury, Igus, Jericho, and me were dripping bluish green and red blood. I don't know. I looked off to the cloud and saw it had thinned out. Below it lay countless bodies like a trail of death marking where it had been. Not only had it grown smaller, but it was quickly getting further away. They're pushing them back? I asked.
No, that doesn't make sense. They had us outnumbered. We should be...
Do you hear that? I asked, as the sound of a violin slowly grew louder. Without warning, the clouds suddenly dispersed. Thousands of Niema flew in a single direction, away from the sound. What Niema remained cheered and shot attacks at their retreating enemies. Get back, I shouted at them. Fly away, get away! But they did not listen, or could not hear me. A dozen or more at a time went silent, and fell out of the sky right to the ground. Like a wave, they slowly moved closer to us.
Harbinger.
Datu said, The runes! We need to get the runes! I said, and summoned my bag. As soon as it appeared, I opened it and pulled out every rune-engraved leather strap I made. Whether they worked or not, I tied one on every kind of to a leg, and to my wrist, then activated them with a dull jar. Lieutenant Datu looked down at the slightly glowing bands, then at me. Her beak moved up and down, but no sound came out. I tried to say something too, but just like her, there was no sound. Her eyes glowed, and I felt something.
Hopefully this means these runes work.
That would be good, yeah. In the distance, maybe 100 meters away, a wild-looking woman with a violin stepped out of the forest. She walked among the corpses, looking around carefreely until she spotted me.
Kill her! Kill her now!
Datu shouted in my mind. I knew it was time. There was no getting around it, not really. I could pull out a ball bearing, cast railgun, and end the mission then and there. But I had to try one more time. Please. Can you do to her what you're doing to me? I want to talk with her. I can get her to stand down. I know I can.
That is not the mission,
she said. Frick the mission. Just let me try save her. Please. I know it probably won't work. I know what happens when someone becomes a familiar. But maybe she's like me. Maybe she still has her own mind. I begged, never letting my eyes leave Harbinger. She started walking closer, her violin under her chin, being played the whole time. The lieutenant stayed quiet for a moment, but eventually said,
Fine, but I need to pull back. We cannot be sure these runes will work. I will look for her master.
Datu spread her wings and flew upwards as she got further away. She added,
You have 3 minutes. If she is not dead or on our side by then, I will kill her myself.
At that moment, I felt a third presence enter my mind. Can you hear me? I asked, and Harbinger stopped walking and looked around.
Is this you?
She asked, but the voice in her mind sounded wrong. When someone speaks to your mind, you feel them. You feel their presence, their soul even. But Harbinger echoed like she was hollow. Something was missing from her mind, and I could feel it. Yes, what is wrong with you?
Well, that's quite the question to ask, isn't it? But really, there's not a single thing wrong. In fact, I'm better than I've ever been,
she said, drawing closer still, playing the violin the whole time, even though I couldn't actually hear it. No, you're broken. Please stop this. Let me help you.
How come you aren't dying?
What?
I should be vibrating your brainstem so hard it pulls itself apart. Even at this distance, you should still be in agony, but you're fine.
Is that death magic?
Death magic? No. I'd wanted that because I thought it would please my master, but unfortunately I couldn't use it. Master Lucaria was so disappointed. I cried for half an hour over that, but it ended up fine because I learned how to use my music to fulfill her desires.
Your master, are you under her spell? If not, then you don't need to serve her. You're trapped here like me, but if we work together, I'm sure that we can.
Trapped? No, I'm not trapped. Why would I be?
Because of the dragon. Haven't you seen him? I asked. Harbinger was closer now, maybe only 50 meters away.
Dragon? You mean the fire guy? I wondered about him. I saw him like 6 months ago, but that was it.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's no reason to fight. If you'll just surrender, this can all end, I pleaded. She was 45 meters away now.
This doesn't seem to be working at all,
she said, looking down at her violin.
How are you doing that?
Please, surrender.
No.
Why not? I asked angrily. 40 meters.
Because that isn't what my master would want.
Frick your master. What do you want? The moment I said that, she put her violin back against her chin and struck one of the chords hard. My feet vibrated, and for a split second, the ground to my left and right and directly in front of me shook so hard it cracked.
How dare you? You blaspheme Lucaria? I will rip out your tongue and...
At the 35-meter mark, Harbinger suddenly stopped. I felt a new mind enter my own.
Master, are you okay? I am being attacked.
A new woman's voice shouted.
Please, summon me. I cannot, it would take too much time. I am flying in your direction.
Are you the Niema that took over her mind? I asked angrily.
What? Who is speaking? Just another human. Don't worry, Master, he will be dead soon.
Once again, Harbinger resumed walking. With every step, she struck her violin, and with every strike, the ground tore itself apart. I felt the other voice, Lucaria, leave my mind. Stop this! Your violin clearly isn't working.
Clearly?
Just talk with me, I'm sure. I was interrupted by a forceful shock to my side. A large rock had slammed into my armor, knocking me to the ground. I cried out in pain for a second, as a few of my ribs broke. But of course, no sounds were working around me at the moment. Silently screaming was trippy, though. I flowed mana into my armor, and the runes began to heal me. 25 meters now.
So whatever is protecting you is also affecting sound, then? They aren't my forte, but I can use other spells,
she said. I threw a fireball at her. It connected, and she writhed and shouted for a moment. She then threw her violin to the ground and rolled around until the flames were out. For a second, I thought I'd killed her, but she slowly stood back up. When she turned around, her clothes were burnt, but the area of her face where I'd hit was already healing. Stop this, I said.
Is the one attacking Lucaria your master? If that's the case, then I'm going to liquefy her guts in front of you.
Please stop this, or I'll have to kill you, I said one final time. She started running, 10 meters. I cast railgun. The ground beside her exploded. A miss, I thought. A second shot, another miss. Her body slammed into me, knocking me back. She was on top of me, caught in the rune's area effect. Her mouth was open, her face contorted. Was she screaming? She just body slammed a guy wearing full plate armor. She could be screaming. Hit her, tried to push her away. Each of her blows vibrated me, shook my brains out. Both of us were probably screaming, but there were only quiet and pain. I was bigger, stronger. I pushed her off, summoned Mori and stabbed. Once, twice, 3 times. She never slowed down. Something hit me from behind, another rock. It made me drop Mori. She hit me in the nose. It broke. Hot blood poured down my mouth. I summoned Igus and hit her with that too. She still didn't slow. It was like fighting a wyvern all over again. She wasn't afraid of being hurt. She didn't stop just because she'd been stabbed. I may have been bigger and stronger, but she fought like a trapped animal. Suddenly, the whole world filled with sounds of gain all at once.
Ah!
She screamed, or maybe it was both of us. At that point, we were just beating each other senseless on the ground. Neither of us was even trying to use magic anymore. But almost as soon as the sound turned back, I felt dizzy.
Finally,
She bellowed and got back to her feet. I tried to stand up, but quickly fell over again. My whole world was spinning. Looking at my wrists, I saw that some of the rune-engraved straps had come off in the fight. 2 of the 5 were lying almost 10 meters away on the ground. Picking up Maury, she stood over me. I launched a fireball, but couldn't see straight and missed entirely, even though she was a few feet away. She swung, and I put my hand up in front of me. Then it fell to the ground beside me. "Ah!" I screamed, and spurts of my blood flew from where my left hand had once been and into the air. "Ah!" I continued to scream. She raised Maury up again, but I cast a spell, one I told myself I'd never use. Spells are cast by putting magical power, mana, into one's thoughts or intentions. And when she swung that sword down at me, I could only have one thought, only one intention. I've been fighting her, fighting to survive, fighting to kill. That was my intention, and the spell cast was death magic. I spoke no words. I didn't need to. The moment the spell was cast, I almost regretted it. She dropped Maury behind her and started screaming. Worse than she did when my fireball hit her. Worse than anything I'd heard since the alleyway that day all those years ago. Blood poured from her face where no cuts had been. Her limbs contracted and bent in unnatural ways. She just screamed and screamed until she stopped, her face frozen in agony and discolored by blood. And I just laid there, frozen, still bleeding from my stump, but unable to put any mana into my armor, unable to do anything except regret my spell. I think I passed out. Everything went from all too real to more of a dream. For the next while, my memories got a bit fuzzy as I slipped in and out of consciousness. One clear memory I have is how clammy and dizzy I felt. Cold, that's what I was. No matter how hard the sun beat down on me, I was freezing. It was probably the side effect from blood loss, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was just dead, and that's why I was cold.
Sentinel?
Lieutenant Dadhu called out. I didn't answer, but she found me anyways, and landed on the ground in front of me.
Sentinel, can you hear me? Are you... By Asham! Your limb. Hold still. I may not be the greatest healer, but I can stop the bleeding.
She cast a healing spell, and the pain in my wrist faded, but it didn't go away. After my wrist was healed, Dadhu surveyed the area and contacted the rest of the squad. That's about when my head started to clear up. Lieutenant, I asked from the ground, lying on my back and still in my armor.
Sentinel? Good. I was worried my healing spell was ineffective. Do you remember what happened?
I killed her.
Yes, you completed the mission and killed the target. Good work,
she said. Hearing her congratulate me made my stomach turn. My hand, I said, looking at my stump.
Yes, it seems you lost it in the fight. I do not know much about healing magic, but perhaps your master can reattach it for you.
Where is Suma? Is she all right?
Captain Gigola said that he regrouped with Privates Suma, Rue, and 9. They were able to finish evacuating the survivors before they retreated. However, Odin's did not survive the enemy's assault.
Dang it! My cheeks grew hot, and soon tears were streaming down my face. Between my hand, Odin's, and Harbinger, I really don't know which one of them I was crying for most. I just sobbed quietly and whispered swears and curses under my breath, until I heard flapping sounds getting closer. Suma landed on my shoulder. The others all landed nearby, except for 9. He stayed in the sky and circled around, keeping an eye on the surroundings. The enemy had retreated, but only because of Harbinger. With her gone, they'd be back sooner or later.
Jake, thank the dragons you are okay,
she said, and gently placed her head against the cold metal helmet I hadn't bothered to send away yet. I lost my hand, I said, raising up my stump. Her eyes went wide, and her feathers pressed flat against her body when she saw it. I even noticed the natural sparkly glitter-like glow she always had got a little dimmer.
I found it over there. Can it still be reattached?
Datu said.
No, I'm so sorry, Jake. Once a wound has been healed, severed limbs cannot be reattached.
Atharia, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.